Hey everybody, Degens on the block. We are super excited today on Degens. We've got a couple awesome guests, and I am a new fan of this band. We've got Carrie and Chris from Bad Bad Hats, and my friend Glenn Gray really freaked out when they said yes to this podcast. So we're really excited. I think Glenn might be more excited than anyone here.
I had like the perma smile for like days. And
He's like, holy
it's coming
shit.
back right now. So it's like it's actually happening.
Yeah. So actually, why don't we just take a second and just because some of our folks are kind of older folks like me with gray in their beards, and they don't know much about Bad Bad Hats.
Yes.
And what I've learned is you guys met in college,
Yep.
and then you found a bass player, and then
Yep.
added a drummer, and
Yeah.
now is it back down to the two of you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. We've been a band for 10 years
Okay.
and played with a bunch of friends, but it's always been me and Carrie kind of leading the ship or whatever. Carrie writes the songs, sings the songs, and I've played a bunch of different instruments to make the band, keep going, help the band keep going. But
It's
we
like
have a
that's
good
like
time.
normal marriage. It's like my wife does the stuff, and I'm there to dig the
juggle.
holes and support.
And that's true, right? You two are married.
We are,
right?
Yeah,
yes.
we
Oh,
are,
okay.
and that's
Okay.
been the whole. We haven't been married the whole time, but we've been dating the whole time. So,
Yes.
yeah.
And you
Yeah.
put something on MySpace, and then
That's right. You did.
found
you did
each
your
other?
Research.
Yeah.
Yes, you're good. That's true. I know it is funny. Yeah, talking about like music and technology and social media, because we've been through several eras of music and social media. So in our day, MySpace was still a thing, and that's
Sure.
where you put your songs up to be heard, and that's where we heard each other.
Yeah.
okay.
So you were both solo artists at that
We were,
time.
yes.
Quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were at the same school.
Yes, we
Yeah.
were. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
McAllister. Yeah.
Yeah, we was trying to make it on our own. But then we thought, hey, what if we combine our powers and
Sure.
really take it to the top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm just fascinated by the fact that you're married and in a band. I know there's other bands that do that.
Yeah.
Does that change your songwriting?
I don't know. I guess because we've always been together when the band has been happening, so I don't know any other way.
Okay.
Maybe there'd be more breakup songs.
I know. Yeah, that's the one
Yeah.
thing.
Now it's just love songs.
I
love
wondered how
songs.
much of her lyrics and stuff you take personally.
Not too many, no.
I know.
Okay.
I'm still mining a breakup from
High school. or
14 years ago.
Yeah,
Just still really milking that one.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, awesome. Well, just to tell you what we do here typically on Degens is we set a timer, and then we bring up a topic. You're happy to bring up a topic, and
Okay.
we'd love to discuss. And Glenn, what do you think we should do? Well, let's
Yeah.
let's go kind of what
We'll
we've
just
got
go in
here.
order here because
Yeah.
I think, you're talking about the living room tours and stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
you can tell us a little about that and how that
Yeah.
came about. And I think we've got some other stuff to weave in there. So
Yeah,
Absolutely.
should we start the timer?
let's start the timer. The big timer. Here we go.
Well, we've done lots of touring in our day. We've been touring since like 2015. And usually, you have the band and you get in the van and you go from venue to venue playing the rock clubs around the country. And that's really great and fun. But we sort of felt like we had heard about doing a living room tour from a musician named David Bazan, who also plays in a band called Pedro the Lion. And David Bazan had done living room tours. He's been doing them for like many, many years. And it just seemed to fit his vibe because he writes a lot of like acoustic, introspective songs and is a great performer and would also sort of incorporate like a Q&A part of the show and like that kind of thing. And we like to tell stories at our shows and sort of give some insight into the songwriting process and sort of have that like sort of congenial relationship with the fans. And so we sort of always thought, that could be kind of a good fit for us because we like telling stories and we like talking with our fans. And so we recently our dear friend Khan, who played drums with us for a long time, decided to step away from touring and playing in the band full time to focus on his own music and producing and recording. So it was just back down to 2. And that sort of felt like maybe a good opportunity to pursue the living room tour for the first time. So yeah, we're kind of excited. We're going to be packing light, just a couple guitars and our suitcases.
Will it be a little bit like your islands in the live stream?
Exactly.
Kind of like that. That's very cool. And you take little breaks. It's almost like you're doing a podcast with your fans.
Yeah, it's very similar to that. Lots of chatting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lots of chatting. So yeah, I think that also probably doing the live stream shows in the pandemic probably also sort of got us in the mindset of doing shows like that and playing some covers and playing acoustically. So I think it's gonna be cool. And thankfully, we heard about a company called Undertow that did all the booking for David Bazan.
Okay.
And so they've been helping us because I'm not sure we would have known logistically how to put together a living room tour.
Yeah, and there's a lot of frickin' dates.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dates. Wow, how long are you gone?
It's about a month, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a little break in the middle though. We'll be back in the Twin Cities like a little ways in. So that'll be kind of funny to be home in the middle of tour.
Do you get to sleep at each venue? Are you staying over?
No, we're in hotels.
We're just going to be here at the couch. Don't mind us.
Yeah. I mean, I bet some people do it that way.
Yeah.
But it's literally, some of them are actually in people's homes.
Yes,
right?
they are.
Yeah, we got living rooms and a few small businesses.
Yeah, coffee shops. We're playing in a knife store, like a cutlery store in Chicago.
Wow.
A recording studio, I think, in Connecticut.
Yeah, so like it is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be an experience for us too to play to like be in these interesting spaces. And
Are there cities in this tour that you have not been to?
a few like are sort of like technically they're close to like a main market we've played, but like it's a new city. So like in Cleveland, we've played Cleveland many times, but we're technically will be in Streetsboro,
Okay.
Ohio.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
never been there before. So yes, there are going to be some new little spots. Yeah.
Now on these in these situations, are you playing all originals, or do you like mix in a few covers here and there?
I think we're going to do 2 covers in the set, which we don't usually do, but it's a good setting for it. And yeah.
Give the people what they want. The favorites.
But no requests.
And I noticed that because I looked up Minneapolis and the darn thing sold out, but there's only 40 seats.
Yeah.
Right. I know that's
We're going to do some more of that, though, some more shows like this. So
well, that's kind of like the good and the bad of the living room tour, because the whole point is we wanted to be in these like intimate spaces with small crowds, but then when they sold out, people were like, what the heck?
Yeah.
It sold out so fast. So it's like, yeah.
Now, was some of the impetus for that because you kind of wanted to just pull back and just kind of get back to your roots a little bit? Was there, logistics? You just kind of didn't want to do a big tour?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, because I think we're celebrating 10 years of our first EP.
Right.
And that was made just me and Chris and
You guys just
our
remastered it too.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So that was made just in our little like apartment bedroom with a couple instruments. And so I think I like the idea of sort of like getting back to, like you said, back to sort of the roots of where the band began and sort of playing the songs like as they were originally written. So yeah, I think that was, and we were hoping to sort of pull back a little bit. We have another album that'll be coming out next year, which I'm sure we'll do a big full band tour for that. But yeah, it sounded nice to take a little break from the usual thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you're touring, like who's setting up all those venues? I mean, do you have a
It's
promoter
Undertow.
or
Undertow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not for this, not just
Oh,
this,
for
in
a regular
general.
tour, yeah, we have
Yeah.
a booking agent named Brian who does it all. And it's a full-time job, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's usually working a few months ahead. So
Yeah.
3-6 months ahead, we're figuring out what we're doing, and he's sending us, what do you think of this venue, and getting it locked down and stuff.
But then once it's booked, then Chris is doing like the day of show kind of like figuring that out. So like once the booking is done, most people would have a manager to do this, but we've never had a manager. So we're the people who we are writing to the venues and saying, what time do you want us to be there? You know, like where do we park? Like all that sort of like day of show.
Is she a control
stuff.
freak? Is that why?
So you got to know, otherwise you're like, where the hell?
Where there
yeah.
we go.
Yeah, right. No, and I think the reason I ask is because you know, one of the things we're going to be talking about is just ownership and all that kind of stuff. So with technology the way it is, it can put the reins back in your hands, right?
And I think musicians have benefited a little bit from being able to do it in your bedroom with Pro Tools or Ableton or whatever. But I think like what we're seeing in the future, there may be a lot more benefit for musicians.
Distribution, with stuff. But the one thing that always seems to be a hang up is promotion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can say, you know, I'm going to own all the rights, I'm going to do all this, but if nobody hears it,
Right.
you know, then it doesn't come back to you. You know, it doesn't help.
Yes. That is like, a constant sort of like philosophical weighing. Because it's like, I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and in Shark Tank, they're always talking about, you know, because they're doing the deal back and forth, and they're like, okay, like, I want 33% of your business if I give you this much money, and they'll often, like, balk at the figure, and the sharks will always be like, well, do you want, you know, 100% of a grape, or do you want 25% of a watermelon?
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's like the balance you have to figure out, because, I don't know, sometimes we have sort of strayed towards keeping as much ownership as we can. But there are moments where you sort of have to figure out, is giving up some more gonna be worth it because they grow the business in a way that you couldn't by yourself.
Right. Because we were looking it up, and it's like musicians get maybe at the max 12%. You know.
Well, I mean, if you're signed to a major label,
if you're signed to a
probably,
major label,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But and I noticed, and this is probably a topic for a little later. You were on Afternoon Records, and now Don Giovanni Records.
Yeah.
You
And
look
is
at
that
we're flowing right into this.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. We don't even have to take a break, folks.
Yeah.
So, but I'm curious, like, how did you, so?
do we want to take?
Maybe we
a
should.
break?
Maybe we should. Okay, Degens on the Block. We'll be back with Carrie and Chris from Bad Hats.
Lots more to talk about.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Welcome back to Degens on the Block. We've got our special guests from Bad Hats, Carrie and Chris.
Yay.
And we're so excited, and I haven't stopped smiling. We were picking up with some streaming questions and stuff, so we can get kind of back into that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that artists are not getting their fair due and fair share of a lot of things. If you're an independent artist, perhaps you get some. Major label artists certainly don't.
Yeah.
But as far as like licensing and stuff, do you own all your songwriting and your publishing and that kind of thing, or does your record label own some of that?
So so the one thing, and I don't even, it's like very complicated the way it all is. But basically, like, every song is split into two sides. So there's like the master side, which is the recording, like the physical recording, and then there's the writer side, so like the composition. Right. And so we, on the writer side, you always have your writer share, like, unless you sell it. So that's nice, and you gotta hold on to that and protect it. But yeah, on the master side, we've always sort of split that in certain ways with our label. So with Afternoon, it was a 50-50 split. So we own half of our master on that. But we've never had a pub deal, as they call it. So we have never sold our publishing.
Okay.
Yeah, so we own that. Yeah.
So so we still got it. Yeah.
Do you guys have you ever lent your songs out to sync, like sync stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Has that worked out okay? Is it?
It has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one of them we were able to buy our minivan that we
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a big chunk of that. So we only had one big boy like that, but occasionally you get a good one.
I know.
That's a real rock and roll
Yeah.
way to go. It's like I've got the minivan.
You got to. It's
Coming back.
great.
Rock and roll money going to the minivan.
No, straight to the minivan fund.
But usually it's a slow trickle of stuff. Yeah.
Which is good. That is like, that has been, it's funny because, like, I think it used to be such a stigma around having your songs used in a commercial way. It's like, quote unquote, selling out.
Yeah.
But I think in the last, like 2 decades, it's just become a real viable income stream for most
sure.
artists.
For
And
sure.
I think
Yeah.
Apple totally turned that on its head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, because I think of people that like seeing the like creative potential of like collaboration with certain brands too. I think has been really interesting to see like a company like Apple, like these really like iconic kind of ads.
Yeah.
That explore
very
the
music
song.
driven.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's funny because I think, in a weird way, as you get gray bearded, I've discovered some bands in commercials and syncs.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like it's almost the flip side, right? You're like,
Yeah.
you're not selling out;
Well,
you're
I think-
actually marketing yourself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many people kind of discovered the yeahs that way, you know, in
Yeah.
the iPod, you
Yeah.
know, commercials and stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like some like credibility too, because you know people from like middle school are like, I saw you in the whatever show, and you're like, that's right.
Yeah.
We're on the up and up.
Now, as far as your label, the first label that you were on,
Yeah.
and tell me if I'm wrong because I'd watched a lot of stuff in the last couple
Yeah.
days on you guys. You guys were in a talent show at McAllister,
That's right.
and someone from Afternoon Records kind of found you there. Can you tell me the story on that?
Yes.
Yeah, so Carrie was the general manager of the radio station at McAllister. And so you put on this event.
I did.
You organized the whole thing.
Yes. Only
Awesome.
partially because I wanted to compete in it, but also we had sort of like an up and coming. There was like kind of like a scene at McAllister, like a lot of bands coming up, and it was really cool. And I like wanted that to be fostered and sort of, and it sounded really fun to have like a recurring Battle of the Bands. I don't know that it actually continued after we left, but yeah, I was like, I think a Battle of the Bands would be super fun, and so yeah, the radio station put it on. And I was trying to think of people to be judges for the battle. And I remember one of them was an English professor that I had because she was cool. And
Yeah.
like I just felt like she had good
That was
taste.
just her accent.
Yeah, she had good taste. So I like thought she would be great. And then I had heard of this guy named Ian Anderson who ran. I'm not even sure that I knew he ran a label, but I knew he ran a blog,
Okay.
like a Minnesota music blog called MFR. And I emailed him, and he was like, "Yes, I'd love to be a judge." And I was like, "Wow, this is amazing. This is going great." And yes, we battled the other bands, and
We played 3 songs. I think
played
that's
3
all we
songs.
Okay.
knew how to play.
Okay.
and we did not win. We
Do you remember
lost.
who won?
Yes, I do.
Oh, we'll never forget.
It was a band called Word on the Street.
Word on the
They're
street.
kind of like funky.
They were
like
freshmen. That
yeah,
was
they
the
were.
worst
That
part.
was the, yeah.
Oh, man.
But it was based on crowd cheering was the voting.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh,
in
my
the freshman
goodness.
dorm, and we stood no chance.
yeah, the seniors had already checked out.
I
yeah.
know. I didn't think that through when I was planning this event. I should have gotten it to
Brought in
swing
some
our
crowd
way.
noise.
I know.
Yeah, right.
So yes, we lost the battle, which was sad because the prize, if you won, was that you got to play at McAllister Spring Fest, which was like the big concert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which meant you would have gotten to open for Deerhoof and Biz Marquee were the
Okay.
headliners. So we were pretty upset that we didn't get to play Spring Fest. But then Ian Anderson emailed us and said he liked what we did
Oh
and
wow.
asked
Cool.
if we wanted to be on his label. And we said yes.
Yeah.
That was
After
it, yeah.
sending the contract to a lawyer, family friend,
Okay.
Yeah.
just to make sure. But
And it
yes.
sounds like that was a good relationship for quite a while.
It was.
Yeah. Carrie was. You married him. I don't know what the right word is.
No, I married you, Chris. No, yes, I
You know what I
officiated
mean.
his
She's
wedding.
really
Officially
getting
Oh,
around
okay,
here.
yeah.
I officiated his wedding. Yes.
Wow,
And
Yeah.
he
cool.
officiated-
Really?
And
It's
he
a-
officiated our wedding too.
Yeah, so it's a tight thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And then so now, are you officially on a different label?
We are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we put out Walkman, the most recent one,
Uh-huh.
on Don Giovanni Records, which is a Philly/New Jersey label.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very similar vibe. Yeah, it's small.
Okay.
it's a
I
small
kind of figured
thing.
that from the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 2 people, 1 person or something
Yeah.
like that, which is what Afternoon was like too.
And what does the new label does the new label do anything a little different than Afternoon or no?
They are just, I would say, like functionally, they all kind of do the same thing, which is like put money behind it and like do their best to sort of like promote and
Promote,
and sort of like organize the release. But Ian was much smaller. Like I think for most of our time at Afternoon, it like was just Ian.
Okay.
And he was a very like entrepreneurial kind of guy. So was like busy doing many other things, which was fine and great because he's good at a lot of things. I think by the end, sort of like the label was kind of like not really like on his like priority list.
Sure. Yeah.
So to be on Don Giovanni, just we had like sort of more resources and more sort of like there's like more active roster. 'Cause we are also like the only band left on Afternoon Records.
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
Last band standing.
Last
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So sort of like there are more bands around us and sort of a little bit more infrastructure
Yeah.
to promote the albums
Yeah.
and stuff. So that's been good. But it's, like Chris said, we also like though that it is a small organization because that's what we loved about Afternoon Records. So
Yeah.
it's basically just us and Ian to be like, we got another one for you, Ian. Like, what do you think? He's like, you got it. So yeah.
No, so do you think with Don Giovanni, will you go on tour with any of those bands in the future, you think? Or is that
Potentially, yeah.
We've
Okay.
been talking about it. Yeah, there's some discussion about it. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they similar styles, or is it kind of all over?
it's pretty eclectic.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
We're probably the poppiest band on the label, I would say.
Okay.
But lots of great rock bands and punk bands, and which is great. Yeah, we've been on tour with like all kinds of different bands, and we just try to like tailor our set to whoever we're with. Put the more rockin' songs in for the rock
Sure.
tour.
Yeah.
Put the more pop songs in for the pop tour. Yeah, we like to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome. Hey, well, thanks very much. We're going to end this segment, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Degens on the Block. We are so privileged to have Bad Hats, Carrie and Chris. We're talking music, but we're going to shift the conversation a little bit to a lot of the stuff that we talk about on our podcast: blockchain, NFTs, technology, that kind of thing. And so, one of the things we talk about, and one of the things we see use for in music and the music industry in the future is the benefits of blockchain and blockchain and NFTs. And we probably should start right from the beginning. First of all, do you guys own any NFTs or?
We don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I've watched a video about it,
Okay.
and that's the extent of
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah. So basically, the way I look at it and where I see some application is songwriting rights. You know, your licensing and that kind of thing could be put on the blockchain. You could potentially sell NFTs that would allow perhaps some of your fans for you to raise a little bit of money
Sure.
and have some of your fans benefit in some of your success, that kind of thing. But the reason the way I got into it was
Why don't you explain what the NFT is?
yeah. So NFT is a non-fungible token. So it's a relative to like cryptocurrency, and so cryptocurrency is a digital asset, and you can kind of think of those as like coins, like a
Yeah.
dollar. So $1 is equal to another dollar. If I give you $1 and you give me $1 back, they're fungible.
Okay.
But non-fungible would be like if you owned a Picasso and I owned the Mona Lisa, we could trade them, but they're not fungible. They're not
Right.
the same.
Right.
So the way I got into it is just follow a couple guys online, and I just like art.
Yeah.
And so I thought, wow, these are kind of cool things. I was getting into crypto, buying a few digital assets. I just need more things to do in my life.
Yeah.
But I thought, some of this art was cool.
Yeah.
And then here's these artists all of a sudden getting paid for what they do.
Yeah.
As a musician myself way long ago, virtually didn't get paid unless I played a live show,
Right.
kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And so and a lot of artists that I knew, trying to sell their art, it's hard to make a living. You really don't make a living.
Yeah.
And I was pretty excited to see all these artists actually making a living selling
Yeah.
their art. And so since I was into crypto and art, I was buying these non-fungible tokens, these NFTs. And the next thing you know, Beeple, I don't know if you heard about his collection, but Beeple sold his set of NFTs, which is digital art, for $69 million at Sotheby's. And so that kind of started this process as we these old men getting together
Yeah.
talking about stuff. We're like, oh, NFTs.
Yeah.
And we started, making some money.
Yeah.
Ultimately losing a lot of money too.
Sure,
But I'm just interested, Glenn, do you have any ways that you think NFTs or blockchain could be applied to music?
Yeah, I mean, because it's all about unique things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of looked into some of the stuff, and so there's music NFTs, and you can use those to sell, a portion of royalties.
Okay.
You can do, and depending on how you write the contract, it could be, it could be a year. You could be, you can do some things to raise some capital. So, ways where you would still retain it. Now, the nice thing about some of these things is even if you sell, say, maybe you partition out some of your songwriting rights,
Okay.
right? For, let's say it's a year. You can sell those, and if they turn around and they sell theirs, you get money from that sale.
Oh, okay.
That's
Right.
kind of interesting. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can keep getting sold, and it'll still come back to you. It's not like you've lost it for good. It's each sale will come back to you.
And I think that one of the important things that we missed out in the beginning was that blockchain is immutable. So in other words, it's minted in little blocks, and you can't go back and change it.
Okay.
And so these are based on smart contracts, so that it's immutable, and so and you can attach royalties to it. So like if say you had a piece of art, and I sold it to Glenn, I can indicate on there every time that gets sold, I get 10%. And it's by smart contract. It's automatic. You don't have to go to a central party. So it's just peer-to-peer ways.
Yeah.
And to be able to continue to make royalties on future sales. I mean, one of the biggest industries that this is going to be crazy in is real estate.
Oh.
So every time that you sell a house, it gets sold again, you can make a royalty on it.
Crazy.
So there's ways that happens, and it happens automatically without having title companies or any sort of
Gotcha.
middleman.
Yeah.
And I could see in music at some point, if you could really make it decentralized and that way that.
Well, that's why with
yeah.
some of your things, like with the record, your music club and
Yeah.
stuff like that, where you're sending things out.
Yeah.
Those could be NFTs that you're sending out.
Gotcha.
Right? And you're letting people, have them or use them or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's a way of retaining that ownership
Okay.
of what you've sent out.
That's interesting. I haven't really heard that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, NFTs can be really anything. People have done it for, dresses, like designer dresses and all that kind of stuff. It's not just a digital piece of art.
Guitars. You could basically the combination of the digital and the physical, they call fidgetal, and that's going to be the new thing is fidgetal. So your guitar might have a QR code on the back that's stamped, and you can't fake it. So what if who's your favorite guitarist?
Oh,
Oh, good question.
how about John Frusciante or whatever? Frusciante.
Yeah, from
I don't know how to say his
Red Hot
name. Yeah, yeah.
Chili Peppers. So if you knew that fidgetal guitar
Yeah.
and it was verified on the blockchain was owned by him, well, then that NFT and guitar are worth more, and it's not counterfeitable.
Sure.
You can't.
It's going to make Antique Roadshow very boring.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, we'll just get out my scanner. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, here it is.
But I think ultimately, like we had talked a little bit about Spotify, if you could figure out a decentralized platform that could return micropayments.
Yeah.
So, like, say if I wanted to stream and I wanted to pay you 1 cent for
Yeah.
the stream, then blockchain, if it's not on Ethereum where there's a huge gas fees if it's on a blockchain like Polygon or XRP or some other blockchain that it costs like a 1,000th of a penny to make the transaction, well, then that makes sense for me to pay you 2 cents for a music stream.
Yeah.
And if you were on a platform where you got 2 cents a stream, well, then that's way better for the artist. So
Yes. Well, yeah, it's interesting because I think like we have long discussions all the time in the van about like, how to like what's better than Spotify or like how do you like, because I think streaming is like here to stay and like in so many ways like it is like a better platform for listeners. I mean, it's amazing to have access to that like amount of music and like to discover like new artists who you wouldn't have discovered before. But that's interesting to see like sort of like a different like a vision for how a streaming service could be more beneficial to the artist.
Yeah.
right.
I know Sound XYZ does some of that, where I think you can buy songs,
Yeah.
and I think it's a percentage or something, or they'll break a song down into, 5,000 units
Pieces. Yeah.
and then you can sell it, or they call them like contributors or something like that.
Yeah, you could fractionalize it. You could also potentially, and I know there was what was the band? I'm gonna forget. Anyway, they sold an NFT where if you bought this platinum NFT from, they only had like 2 available. They always had VIP tickets. Got to go backstage to every concert.
Yeah.
In perpetuity. And if you wanted to sell it, well, I sell it to Glenn. Well, but guess what? So he gets to do it now. But guess what? In that transaction, you got paid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So-
I mean, that would be really a kind of a cool thing as part of this. Even the music club.
Yeah.
If you join this thing, then when we come through, you'll have a code and you'll be able to come backstage or do a
I
meet
think you
and
should
greet.
combine it with your living room tour. Next living room tour, you sell the NFT to the people that want to have you in their living room.
Yeah.
And then, they hold the NFT, and then your next tour, you're going to the places that have purchased your NFT.
So is there like a marketplace or something? 'Cause
Yeah.
You said like when it's sold,
Yeah.
you get so like Babbitt Hats would need like an account on some like application.
So OpenSea is kind of like the Amazon of
Okay.
blockchain, but that's on Ethereum, and that's great. It's a little more, because it's decentralized. It's a little more complicated to be able to know how to buy crypto and buy the NFT, but there are a lot of things that are making it simpler. And I see at some point in the future, you guys being able to sell these. First of all, you raise money by selling the NFT. So maybe you say you get paid $2,000 for every time you go to a show. So you
Okay.
sell that NFT to someone for $2,000, $3,000.
Okay.
And then the next time the tour comes around, they can decide. Let's say Glenn really wanted you to be at his house instead of my house. He'd buy the NFT, and I might price it a little bit higher. Now you get that increased percentage too. So, did I answer the question? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just like yes, you got to be part of like the ecosystem.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it can be decentralized
there's-
where you don't necessarily have to have a centralized location that
Okay.
you go to. You guys could be in charge of
Oh, I see. Okay.
putting the NFTs together, and maybe
Gotcha.
it's
Right.
pieces of your album covers
Yeah.
as the art, and then you sell those and you do a
Right.
release.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's
anyway,
kind of
it's-
interesting.
Yeah.
Break your album cover into so many segments,
Yeah.
and sell each piece off as
Yes.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I think, even like PayPal, I think is starting to get into crypto
Oh, okay.
that you can purchase, and they call it fiat, is kind of the regular money.
currency. So you can purchase crypto with an ACH or
Oh,
your
okay.
debit card or something like
okay.
that.
Yeah, so it's getting a lot easier, because before you had to go and you had to create a wallet, and then you had to connect it, and you had to, convert dollars to Ethereum, and so it was kind of a process.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the future, it may be of benefit.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the next topic is kind of kind of along the same lines, and I kind of want to show you guys a video.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's going to be on my phone.
Okay. That's fine.
All right. Should we take a break?
Well, let's take a break for a second. I need a few more pieces of
Todd
fruit.
needs to download a little bit
then-
in here and
then
get some
we'll
more
be
fruit.
back. Cheers.
Welcome back to Degens on the Block. We've got our good friends from Bad Bad Hats,
Yes.
Chris and Carrie. We are very excited, and we're going to jump into our next topic.
Yeah, so the next topic is our next topic is AI music.
Okay.
So I saw this on TikTok and I thought this was really fascinating, and I'll tell you why I thought it was fascinating, because I'm doing a little music. I'm writing songs for a movie.
Oh,
And I'm writing them in all different genres because the filmmaker wants them to kind of match the story.
Okay.
And they're not all like kind of pop, semi-sonic kind of thing that I used to do back in the day. In fact, there's a few rap songs that he wants in there. And I cannot rap to save my life.
Yeah.
And I can't rap even good enough to show
Sure,
to show
yeah.
a rapper to say, hey, can
Like,
you
here's
rap
the
on
idea.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought this was pretty fascinating. Let's just.
Oh, I saw this video.
Oh, yes.
Did you see this?
I saw
Okay.
this. Yeah.
I'll just do it real quick.
Impressions. This is AI. So let me come back to my original voice for a second because this is crazy. Today on Metaverse, I posted AI Kanye covering popular songs. Here's an example of him singing Day and Night.
Whoa, I toss and turn, I keep stress in my mind.
So that's clearly crazy. And I started thinking, what are the implications of this for the music industry? Now all you have to do is record reference vocals and replace it with a trained model of any musician you like, which is exactly what I did. I found this Kanye-style beat on YouTube. I wrote 8 bars, and I'm going to record them now, and then I'm going to have AI Kanye replace me. I got a fantasy that's beautiful, that's dark and twisted, but I attacked the whole
sounds like me
religion.
rapping.
I was just going to say, it sounds
What was
like
I
it.
thinking? That was some bitch shit. I lost Adidas, but I'm still Yeezy. Back in the kitchen, man, I'm a genius. Boys in the hood, just like I'm easy. Kanye, Weezy, Southside of Chicago, life ain't easy. All praise be to Lord Jesus, Donda, please rest easy. All right, let me cut it there. So let's hear those vocals I just recorded now with Kanye over them. Yeah.
I got a fantasy that's beautiful, that's dark and twisted, but I attack the whole religion all because of my ignorance.
Okay, we probably
Was I
heard enough.
thinking?
But I mean, I
Yeah,
think
it's
and
crazy.
AI is just beginning.
Right.
And I got to thinking actually when I saw this, because I am a huge new fan of you guys, and I love
you.
your voice.
Thank you.
And if I had an AI model on these songs that I need a female singer, I'd put your voice on there and then go find someone or you
Yeah.
to sing them. But as someone that's writing for film,
Yeah.
I think there's something there, but I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. It also
Yeah.
crosses a line.
Well, I was about to say,
Right.
so I would say in that example, it would be my hope that you would come to me
Yeah.
and
Right.
hire me to sing those songs. And
Right. Yeah.
if I'm the artist that you like and are sort of inspired by, I think as an artist myself, it's my hope that you would do that. But Chris and I were discussing in the car on the way here in preparation to talk to the both of you, because I was sort of like, yeah, what do we think about AI, Chris? I was like, yeah, I don't know. But I do see how, like, I think the licensing as like a sync scenario, like we've seen a lot of sync briefs, from our licensing company where like a CW drama wants like a moody poppy song that sounds like Billie Eilish for this one scene. And how nice for them to be like type that into AI and it just goes, here it is. Like, you don't need to go find, like me to try to imitate Billie Eilish. The computer can just do it probably faster and cheaper and better.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, so my background is in advertising.
Yeah.
I've been a creative director and stuff. And a lot of the stuff you do a TV spot, you do a radio spot, and you're like, okay, I want something kind of Oasis-like. And
Yeah.
so you go to a music house, and they would get close to the line,
Right.
Yeah.
and and now it's just like, it's crazy because you can almost go over the line, I mean, because you're
with something
creating
like that,
something completely new and original. But
Don't mind the tile cover in the background.
what are they, right outside the door?
So what kind of dentist office is
I know,
this?
for sure.
Yeah,
Don't look behind the curtain.
yeah. It's got a patient behind here.
But yeah, I mean, I think like the way that I would envision using it is not like stealing
No, yes.
someone's voice, but really to make it a presentable demo for like
Like a
say a
mock-up,
local rap. Yeah, exactly, a mock-up of something
Yes.
for a local rapper to say, okay, yeah, I can see what you're trying to
Yes.
do. I do want to rap on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because I think, like, in my mind, like, I don't understand how legally any of this stuff would be allowed. I mean, like
It may not. Yeah.
right, because it's
Right.
just like, that's like Kanye West's voice, and like if somehow the robot had my, like my albums and were able to do my voice, like I would want that removed.
Yeah,
from,
For sure.
Right.
from like someone to be able to use. So I hope that there's an option, in the future for artists to opt out. Be like, I don't want the computer to be learning from my work.
Yeah.
That was another thing I was even wondering. It's like you almost need to license every piece of your music, every bit of it. Like
Yeah.
it's not just the whole piece. It's like you may have a certain break in there, and they did it back, with break dancing and stuff like that, where you're sampling and everything.
Right.
It's gotten even crazier because
Right.
now the computer models go and they just fetch all this stuff out there and then recombine it. But I know with messing around with Mid-Journey, so Mid-Journey, I don't know if you know it.
Yeah, like a DALL-E kind of thing.
Right, same kind of thing. But you can get images back that even have a little bit of a watermark over it. It's kind of blurred out or it's something, but
Gotcha. Yeah.
but it just tells me that they're reaching everywhere, and that's why places like Shutterstock and Getty Images and Adobe, they're all trying to get into this, and also
Yeah.
they're also suing all these people because that's where they're getting their imagery from everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I see some of the real value is like in the mock-ups of something,
Yeah.
and in say, so for instance, I'm doing a new website for my profession. I'm a dentist. I'm an endodontist, and I need a new website. And I use Chat GPT, and I'm like, tell me the benefits of a root canal.
Yeah.
Well, it reaches out and grabs a lot of different stuff. And it has to be corrected, but it gives me a nice baseline, and it like bullet points it out. I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, okay, I'll tweak that copy, but
Yeah.
that's very beneficial. So
Yes.
that's where I see some of this
Yeah, a friend
being
of ours,
very beneficial.
A friend of ours did the exact same thing for her
Okay.
job. She also said, like, yeah, give me like 10 like topics for like a
Discussion or something.
yeah, like
she's gonna have.
like a panel.
Yeah.
And same thing. She's like, okay, I need to like adjust these, but like that just saved me like half an hour.
Right.
To be like, oh yeah, great, that's a good idea. Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, I don't know. I do think you see, definite like benefits, like time saving benefits, but I think it is like, I just think with all this stuff, it's interesting because I think it's like we're like about to be faced with like sort of like
Moral questions.
exactly
Yeah, for
because I
sure.
think it's gonna get to a point where like, because you were telling me something that's like the AI like passed the bar exam. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you don't need. I think it's gonna be like you won't have to learn anything. You won't have to create anything. It's just you have to choose to like want to enrich your own life by like learning and creating. And like I don't know that like most humans would like make that choice because
It,
like
it kind of has to do with whatever you input,
yeah.
right?
Right.
So that's part of it. It's like you can skew whatever you get back by what you put in.
Right, yeah.
I did try to see if it would write a song.
Yeah.
So I put in something where I said, it's a breakup.
Yeah.
I went because I was
Yeah.
I was in the bad hats,
Yeah.
feeling, and it was like, and then it was something like it was a breakup, but I had your shirt,
Right.
and I can still,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So there were some things,
Yeah.
but it was so surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
You know-
tried. I think we tried songwriting at our friend's house with this,
Yeah.
and it was like pretty bad.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't intimidated by the AI yet, but
No.
Yeah.
as Chris says, it's only going to get better.
Oh, it's like the first. Yeah.
It'll get better, but I mean, like, and that's what makes us human is the creativity part. And so, like, I think it's a slippery slope. So, like, I think there's definitely some nefarious things that could go on with it. And
Absolutely.
I mean, it's tough. I'm excited about technology, but
Yeah.
at the same time, will it dehumanize us kind of to a
Well,
certain extent?
I wonder about that too. In that, it's kind of creating the ability to do everything yourself, and it seems like already social skills are being lost.
Right.
And all of a sudden now you're doing everything, including female voice and
Yeah.
everything else, and it's like, holy cow.
I think like sometimes when I go, my family's. I asked from where you're from in New York because all my family's from Buffalo,
Okay.
New York. And in Buffalo, there's
It's a different state.
I know. It's like
We don't even.
way out there.
I don't know
Yeah,
if we even consider that New York.
I know. But in Buffalo, it's like they still sort of like have. It's sort of like a time capsule to me whenever I go there, and like there's still like the like butcher that everyone goes to, like the local butcher,
Yeah.
and there's still like the
Right.
baker, and I think that is sort of like. In like modern society, even something like that is lost, like sort of like a specialty. Like you just go to the supermarket where everything is. And I do sort of like miss sort of like the idea of like you go to this one guy, he does your shoes, and like this woman, like you get your hats from her, and then this guy's where
Right,
you get like
right.
the best bread in town.
Yep.
Like I do miss like everyone having kind of like a specialty and like
Yeah.
sort of
Right.
and having like a career and like a fulfilling life by just like focusing on the one thing that like you're good at. And I do think that is kind of getting lost, and it is sort of like you have to do everything, like you have to like be, and like we feel like that too. It's like we can't just be songwriters, like we have to be our own like marketing people, like on social media, like we
Right.
have to be our own like managers, we have to do like all this different stuff, which takes away from our ability to just focus on like writing a song. So yeah, I don't know. It is. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, it's just like yeah, you can even have like I could have like a male rap voice, I guess, like through AI, and I don't
Yeah.
think that's. I don't think I should have that.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
want to.
not for the finished piece. It would also
Yeah.
it'd also be really hard to tour.
Yeah.
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 But I think there may be a little bit of a revolt against this technology. I mean, I think because like right across the hall is grass-fed beef, and that's where we get our beef from.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, well, there's certain parts of that, like smaller community, smaller footprint on the earth is
Yeah.
good. And I'm torn because I love technology,
Right, yeah.
but I also like the community.
See, I mean, I like some of the things, and I'm going to talk to a photographer. We have another
Yes.
coming up, but I like the idea, even the fact that, to get into photography, it's thousands and thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
You're probably 50, 60 grand in before you've even, taken a photo.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you have this technology that you can make these images like they're amazing
Yeah.
in how clear they are and how amazing they are, and it depends on the input. You have
Yeah.
to put all this different input, and people who are good at that have great
Yeah.
images.
We killed a whole day in the van one day when Chris got Dolly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be like,
amazing.
oh, try this one, try this one. Try this one.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think some of my favorites were there's one we did that was like an old television on the ocean floor, like disposable camera photo.
yeah.
And it looks amazing.
That's
No.
crazy.
And that's when you're doing ads and stuff like that, you're always thinking about that stuff, and you're like, well, let's go see what it looks like.
Yeah.
You don't like it, you just regenerate it and
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy that you
Yeah.
can do all that kind of stuff.
Because I do sympathize with like that feeling, like you said, it's sort of like a democratization of it. Like you don't have to have that kind of investment in money, because that's like a big thing in the music industry too. Is like if you don't have the money to like have a van or like to like hire musicians to play with you or like to take off 6 weeks of work to like go on tour, you're just like sort of held back from the very beginning. And so like things like being able to just make a song on your laptop through like GarageBand or something
Yeah.
on a laptop has been amazing for artists.
Yeah,
And
for
something
sure.
like TikTok too is like has been amazing to be like to get known and to be discovered
Yeah.
without having a lot of money.
I feel like you've been able to do that for a long time, though.
Yeah,
You know,
you
there are
have been.
plenty of MySpace or
Yeah.
TikTok, phenoms that, they're playing the ukulele on, something and suddenly they get discovered.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, I think there's some things like Boomy and different AI
Mm-hmm.
kind of music sites, but a lot of that stuff is mostly background,
Okay.
or it's EDM, or it's something with a lot of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you can't really. It's hard to mimic what you guys do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so
Right.
unique and it's so stripped down and pure
Thank you.
that you can't do that. You
Well,
know?
I guess that's
Not
the.
yet.
I still have hope that like it won't be able to do it because we were talking about because it's like it's like an AI music thing is just like stealing from like all its input and like putting it in a ball and being like, here you go.
Right.
But like all artists are like stealing in some way. Like we're all influenced by a certain artist. Like we're all working off of our own inspiration and our own like sort of like catalog of music we've listened to and movies we've watched and all of that. But you're like filtering it through your own personal, unique, like human,
Yeah, your different lens.
Exactly, the lens. So I feel like my hope is that because the AI doesn't have that lens, like it will never feel quite right, and like it can never replace. But I don't know.
I think what it cannot replace and will never do, because the metaverse sucks, but is going to a live concert.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't wait to see you guys for the very first time at some point in the future.
Yes.
It'll
a
have to be
living-
on the next
living room near
next
you.
Yeah,
living
that's
room
right.
tour after I buy their NFT for
That's right.
$2,000.
That's right.
But guys, I think we'll wrap it up here. But can you guys leave everybody your socials? We'll have it
Yes.
down.
Yeah,
we'll have
yeah.
it down in the description and everything. And but can you guys leave some things for our folks?
Yeah, we make it pretty easy. We're at Bad Bad Hats on across the board.
Yes, that's two bads, plural hats. bad hats, like what you put on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we are at Bad Bad Hats on almost everything.
Yep.
Badbadhats.com, that's a good resource. Yeah.
Find us in a living room near you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Join their music club.
We'll have
That's
a
right.
link to their living room tour down in the bottom too. So if they're not all sold out and you can
Yeah.
find a ticket
Yeah.
somewhere,
That's right.
go see them. So we really want to thank you guys,
Thank
Carrie and
you.
Chris.
Yes.
This was
Thanks for
awesome.
having us,
And
Thank you for replying.
yes.
That was phenomenal.
You're right. I mean, you were right. You knew that I like to talk, so you knew that you could probably give me the code.
Well,
Well,
thank you so much.
Glenn, I can see why you're such a fanboy.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
All
for
right.
being here. Degens on the Block. See you next week.
Ooh.